Alright, so today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the serpentine belt and the water pump. First thing we're going to do is we need to take off the power steering and take off the belt tensioner itself. And then normally you would probably want to take it off from these bolts, but I don't want to touch these guys at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and drain out the fluid from the reservoir with a suction gun, and I'll go ahead and disconnect this hose right here and then move this power steering over on top of the engine. Then I'll have more access over to the tensioner. Mostly it's going to be 12 and 14 millimeters of what you're going to be using on the power steering. You're going to have one bolt right here and then one right under, a little bit above the bracket of the alternator. So you're going to have those two, and then one bolt right there on the tensioner itself. So yeah, we'll go ahead and knock out this process. And then the belt tensioner too itself is a 14 millimeter. So on the power steering bracket, so there's our one 12 millimeter, and then our other one will be right there. So those are going to be the ones that are holding them. Again, those are both 12. And then for the belt tensioner, we're going to have 1, 2, and then there's one more right under here, right there. So that bolt, so those are going to be the 3 bolts that are holding that in. Pretty much we're going to go ahead and take off our bolts. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10 millimeter bolts. So I'm going to be using a deep socket, 10 millimeter socket. I'm going to be using a 10 millimeter deep socket, and we'll go ahead and take off those bolts. Make sure you drain your coolant, and then have something to catch the coolant that's going to fall from this area. Also, to get to the very bottom bolt, I think it will be a lot more easier for you guys to go from the bottom, and you can see the screw a lot more easier than trying to look up on top blindfolded. What else could I see? This guy was being held in by a fastener screw. I used a flathead to take that off just so I can get to that bottom bolt. It's gonna probably come in handy when I'm putting it back on, but we'll go ahead and do that. Take off that bolt and then go back from there. Alright, so now that we have all our bolts loosened, we'll go ahead and just pry it. Now on the surface too, you can use a brass brush, or you can use a steel brush. So we'll just clean up the area, do all that part. So I went ahead and cleaned this area, the mounting plate, with brake cleaner, and then I went ahead and put on our gasket, and then I put silicone on that just as reinsurance, and then we'll go ahead and do it for the install. Also, if you're having a hard time putting in the bolts for the bottom, you could just put a little dab of silicone right there on the bolt, and then this will help it stick pretty well. So just as a little tip right there. So now we'll go ahead and reverse the order. So this is pretty much the belt diagram for this. Obviously crank, AC, water pump, alternator, belt tensioner, and power steering pump. So we'll go ahead and do that in that order, starting from the crank and then work my way up. And that's pretty much how it's going to be for you guys too. So yeah. After you're done putting on your belt, go ahead and double check your work. Make sure all the belts are in their grooves. So I started off with the crank, worked my way to the AC, and then I had this belt right over this idler pulley on the belt tensioner, and then I brought my belt right over the water pump, and then I put it on the power steering first, and then I brought it over the alternator. But it kind of slipped off and came off the water pump, but I was surely enough to get it back on, and then as you can see on the video. But now we'll go ahead and put on our power steering hose. And we'll just add back our fluid that we drained out. And then after this, we're going to go ahead and add our coolant. That step I'm going to skip. But basically how you're going to do it is you're going to go ahead and top it off. Wait until it fills up. And then turn on the car with the heater on full blast. Do not move the car until the fans kick on and you feel hot air from there, and then go test drive it. But keep an eye on the car, and if you need to top off as needed, then top off. If this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below, and then hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos in the future. And thanks for watching.